Welcome to the Landscaping Podcast. My name is Joel Barnett and I am your host. And in today's episode, I'm talking with Ash Walker from Ash Walker Gardening. So Ash is a horticulturalist, plantsman, designer, writer, and traveller. And we talk a fair bit about some of his travels in this chat. So he was a recipient of the Global Footprints Garden Scholarship back in 2021. So he ended up traveling in 2022. And it's just an amazing example of how you can get opportunities, but then maximize them as well. So not just taking things for granted, but he does a fair bit of traveling, and then everywhere he travels, he just makes great contacts with people. So then he can call on them to extend those experiences and experience more things as well. Yeah, it was just great to hear that someone as young as what he is and was when he started his traveling is actually maximizing the potential of what you can get. I've spoken to a lot of people who sort of travelled while they were younger to places like England and London for the Chelsea Flower Show, and they didn't have an interest in horticulture or anything when they travelled, or not as much. So they were just sort of partying and not really taking in the sights that they probably eventually wish they would have. But Ash seems to be doing that, and he's had a passion for horticulture from pretty much since he was born. So it's also awesome to see someone who loves what they do as much as him. So the day of recording this episode with Ash, I listened to a webinar that he did for the Hort Media Association, where he was basically talking about similar things to what he did in this chat, talking about his travels. And I still couldn't get enough of talking to him about it. So hopefully you enjoy this chat as much as I did with Ash Walker. Ash, thank you for joining us on the Landscaping Podcast. My first question for you is, how did you start in the industry?
How did I start in the industry? Wow, that was so a little. I started when I was horticulture, but I was very young, before I could even walk. Like I was just sort of munching around in the garden with Nan and Mum, and the passion just grew from there. Just went through my schooling, sort of doing my own little gardening stuff at home. But then in year 10, at the Gardens of Russ and Barrel, part of my year 10 careers, I had to pick somewhere to do work experience. So I chose my local garden nursery. Did 2 weeks work experience there. Got a weekend job out of it. Worked there for a year, and then I followed the manager, Justin Longhurst, to Welby Garden Centre, where I worked for five years. It was in the nursery, wholesale, and the work crew that I got on the side of the nursery to do. So worked there for 5 years. Also did my Cert 3 in horticulture while I was there. And then during that time, I also applied for the Global Footprints Scholarship. And that's when I did my travel in 2022 for 6 months. Went to a whole bunch of, gardens over in Europe. That was a hell of an experience, that was. And then last year, I decided, no, this isn't enough for me. I need to go back. So I went back over for 9 months last year. And that's when I worked at Claude Monet's garden for six months. I did work at Tresco Abbey Garden, which is on the Isles of Scilly, just below Cornwall in the UK. Worked there for 2 weeks. That was interesting actually, just sort of being on the garden there. But it's on a very small island, so it was quite interesting. But no, that's sort of, yeah, a bit of the story.
So I've heard a bit about the Global Footprint Scholarship because we had Andrew Fisher Tomlin on and he was talking
Mhm.
about it, and
Mhm.
Bryce Hillig as well. He's been a recipient of that scholarship. Can
Mhm.
you explain a bit about it? Because it sounds like an amazing experience, and then it sort of gives you a taste of it, and then people like yourself have really, gone the next level and taken advantage of
Yeah.
the contacts.
Yeah. So how it works, how I got my global footprints, my story is I attended a lot of conferences, and I actually met Graham Ross and another lady named Narelle Smith at a conference, and Scott was chatting with them. And they were the ones that brought the scholarship up to me, said, "Hey, this is a great opportunity. Why not apply for it?" So I applied for it, and there's a whole process you go through with questions and interviews. But I was lucky enough to be awarded the 2021 Global Footprint Scholarship, and it's once you presented the scholarship, you get put in contact with Graham, and he helps facilitate all the placements overseas and wherever you would like to go. So that's a bit of the process there.
So you decide. So did he sort of give you options saying these are the different countries you can go to?
Most of the time, the gardens, yeah, most like previous scholars, they've it's always been sort of somewhat of the same gardens that you go to. But no, I presented Graham with a bit of a list of gardens that I would like to go to, but he said, "Sorry, Ash, that's too big. You need to shorten it." So I shortened it to about five or six, and then that's when I went to. Well, started that for the Chelsea Flower Show, then went to Kew Botanic Garden, HKIT, Mena, in the Cotswolds. Then that's when I went over to Claude Monet's the first time for a month, and then Eden Project after that down in Cornwall as well. So yeah, so it's yeah, Graham and the Australian Garden Council help facilitate the placements overseas.
And how old were you when you started doing that?
Oh, so that was so I won the 2021 scholarship, but because of COVID, we got pushed back a year, which I was quite happy though to like I found that that extra year gave me more time to plan, network more back home. So then I did my travel in 2022. I was well 22 years old then. So quite that was my first time traveling that was and that was a hell of an experience. Like I left the 11th of May and I went straight from here straight to the UK. My first placement was Chelsea, and I'll tell you that was an experience. Getting straight off the plane, 2 days, you're straight into work. Like especially at Chelsea, like you start at 6, 7 in the morning, and you work until 10, sometimes 11 at night. You know, full days just to make sure you get the garden finished. So, but no, it was a hell of an experience that was, and yeah, definitely, I'm very thankful to Global Footprints, Australian Garden Council, Graham, and also the sponsors of my scholarship, which was the IGSC, Independent Garden Centre, and Raj Student Fund. It was as well.
Yeah, awesome. And that was Kate Gould you got teamed up with as well.
That was yeah. So yeah, 2022. Yeah, the Chelsea was Kate Gould, and I was actually lucky enough the one gold that garden did, and best construction and best in category, which was the sanctuary gardens. So that was a hell of an experience. Like I remember, like we finished the garden, and just so nervous. Just like you like throughout the whole build, you don't want to think about it because you don't want to give your hopes up almost. But no, when we got told that yeah, one gold, I was over the moon. It was just insane, and even working with Kate, like I learned a fair few things with garden design, but probably more the planting of a garden, sort of be aware of the sunlight, sort of, if you're planting under a tree, sort of angle the plant so it's more natural, so natural growth toward the sun. It was working for Kate and the whole team there was just a hell of an experience. Like I wouldn't change a single thing. That was it just yeah.
Yeah, I just listened to your webinar that you did for the Hort Media Association, and you mentioned how you were positioning plants on an angle so that like how they would grow, sort of reaching out to get to the sun, and like that was incredible. And you're also dusting like taking dust off leaves as well. So
Mm.
like the details sound insane.
Oh mate, I tell you, like it's down to the millimeter. Like it really is. But it's all worth it at the end. Like to stand back and look what you produced, it's really special. Really special.
So were you there like the entire build?
No. So you roughly get well, it's about the same as Mifkus, actually. So it's about 3 weeks. So you got like the first week was more, get the hard construction stuff done first. So, and then I sort of came in towards sort of the middle time to when it was more about the planting of the garden. It was. But no, I would really like, yeah, to be part of the whole build, to sort of see the whole process through to the end. Yeah, so I came around, around the middle time of the build. And then I was there for the whole time of the show as well, which is so interesting. Like Chelsea, they get, I think it's around 160,000 people in 4 days. Like you can't visit all the gardens. It's impossible just with the amount of people that are around. It's like 10 people deep just to see each garden. But then to be able to speak with the public and then get their insight into, it's always interesting sort of getting their perspective or opinion from someone that necessarily isn't in horticulture or garden design, sort of see what their thoughts are. So no, it was quite interesting.
And are they similar sized gardens to what happens at Melbourne?
Yeah, yeah, correct. Yeah, it's the same. Just what was that? Yeah, so roughly the same they are. Probably just trying to think. Yeah, they're basically about the same they were.
Yep.
What's great about Mifkis in general is actually the show itself. Like it's much more spread out. You got a lot of room to actually move around. When at Chelsea, the show itself is just so condensed. Like that's why I like because I went to Hampton Court show as well. It's very similar to Mifkis actually. I found just yeah the show itself. It's just yeah a bit more spread out. You got a bit more room to breathe in a sense.
Yep. So you were with Peter Donegan helping him with his garden this year at Melbourne. So how did that compare to Chelsea?
Oh wow. How can I put it? The level of detail is still there between both shows. But working with Kate, I learned a lot of stuff from her about the sort of planting style and with garden design. But with Peter, when it comes to the story behind a garden there, he really focuses on that. And it was so interesting just to hear him speak about it, like he's so philosophical when he speaks about the garden and even general things. He's just yeah, very special. But working between the two, like they're very lot of similarities. I didn't find too much difference between the two. I found that both are, you're still trying to strive to, to win the gold, and you're still trying to strive to be your best. So there wasn't too many differences, just more the fact that Kate's garden she focused around COVID times. So that's why she had a spa in there. There was a yoga mat. It was about being back at home. When Peter was much more about about the story behind the garden with the 1980s themed with the plane, which people people had a second look at that. When that it was I tell you it was tough to really crash that thing in there. It's quite hard, but yeah, not too much difference between the two.
Are they more horticulturally focused in UK, do you think, than Melbourne?
Ooh, I'll say it's very similar. Like here in Australia, like Victoria, that's the gardening capital of Australia. I'd say in the UK, they're probably a bit more focused on more horticultural side of things. Of course, they've got many more gardens to visit over there. And, they're, the UK, they've been around longer than us. They've got also got all the top shows of gardens over there. So I think it is different. I want to say the education I find behind horticulture is very different from over there to what it is here. They really go into detail over there in the UK. So there's a lot we can learn, I believe, from the UK. But in a sense, I was beginning to understand that being over there because I was over there when they had the heat wave. So they were getting record numbers of temperature. And I could see myself that the gardens over there and the plants just were not used to the heat that they were getting over there through climate change. So there's a lot of things that the UK, in a sense, and Europe could learn from us when it comes to more drought tolerant plants, methods of irrigation. So no, there's a lot of things that we can learn from each other, in a sense. That's why I believe it's really good to collaborate with different organizations. It would be really, really important.
So when the heat wave was happening, as an Australian, we just sort of tell them to calm down. It's not too hot.
I was. They were sort of sweating and almost fainting, and I'm just like, "What are you doing, mate? This is nothing."
32 degrees.
Yeah, it was a bit like that. There was a couple of days when I was working, and I think it might got to 30 degrees, and had to cut work by stop work at about 12 o'clock. So it was yeah, it was quite funny, but oh well, I didn't complain. I just kept working.
So then after Chelsea, what did you do? Did you go straight to the next?
Yeah, yeah. So straight to Q. So I had about I don't know 3 4 days sort of rest, but no, then I went to Q for 5 weeks and worked there. M Majority in the arboretum with the team there, but I did get a couple days throughout the glass houses as well. So in the palm house, the conservatory, and the temperate house as well. Plus, I didn't work there, but the tropical nursery is just it's just insane. The public aren't allowed to go in there, but the level of plants that are in there, you just see stuff you've never seen before and the rarest things. It's just insane, insane. But no, worked there for 5 weeks, which was so again, like you're working in almost the best, well, one of the top botanic gardens in the world. Like it was just the education there, the botanical side of horticulture, the education there was just so much on point. Like, oh, yeah, there was plants I've never seen before. They're just rattling off names of them. Oh, yeah, but no,
Yeah,
it
I saw
was.
one of your photos you showed of that flower that smells like rotting flesh.
Oh yeah, yeah, the Emephilus Titan. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, that really does stink as well. Like that was in the conservatory, and it's like rotten eggs, and yeah, the whole glass house, it just smells of it.
Yeah, right.
But no, that didn't bother me too much. I found it quite fascinating actually. And that queue there, they've got probably about 20 to 30 of them
Yeah, right.
around. Oh yeah, they've got a fair few. But it was quite interesting seeing them actually because after it flowered and it finished, they collected all the seeds within it as well. So it was quite interesting. So you had the plant, it dies back, and then they cut like a little square, probably about yeah, big little square, and they go through and they get all the seeds and stuff out. So no, it's quite interesting to see that sort of stuff there.
I think that's where they have the London College of Garden Design campus as
It
well.
is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. So yeah, Andrew Fisher Tomlin. Yeah, he teaches students there at Q. Plus, I believe they also go to Wisley as well. But I think Q is the majority one he goes to there. And actually, it was actually Andrew Fisher Tomlin that helped me facilitate my placement at Chelsea with Kate and also at Q. So no, he's a great dude to know and speak with. No, it was good seeing him at Melbourne. Actually, had a good catch up. So I definitely think, yeah, I think I haven't got a garden design certificate under me, but I think the London College of Design is definitely a place to go. So I reckon once I'm over in London, I might apply for the course, I reckon.
So is that something you're looking to move into to do garden design?
I would like to. I've just been exposed to it so much now. So through Chelsea and then going to Melbourne and also talking with a lot of other designers throughout the industry as well. I've just been exposed to it, and I know it brings out my creative side and really gets me thinking into the design of a garden. So it definitely is. I think short term, I definitely want to do more garden design, but my long term is definitely horticulture, and I would like to be a head gardener of a garden one day. I think that's definitely my long term goal.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Any in mind?
oh no, oh, maybe Monet's garden in France, I reckon. I reckon. No, not too many, but I think just because the UK have got so many gardens over there that I think definitely have one of the ones over there I reckon I would like to potentially work at. But we'll see. I've learned that things change pretty quickly. So yeah, we'll see how we go with that.
And then where to after Q?
That was Hidkit Manor in the Cotswolds. Worked there for a month, and that was just your very English style garden rooms style garden that was. But working there again, that's with the National Trust, so that was fantastic to work there. It was even better the fact that I was able to get accommodation on site, so I actually stayed in the manor house itself, and they get students throughout the time there as well. But for that month that I was there, I was the only person, so I sort of called myself the Lord of the Manor. I did so. But no, working at Hidkit there, yeah, it was just insane. Sort of learning more about the English style of gardening there, the proper English style of gardening, and also learning the story of Hidkit itself, which is through Lawrence Johnson, who sort of facilitated the gardens, and yeah, it was quite interesting working there.
So are the gardens all around the Cotswolds? Because it's like a fancy kind of gardening place
Oh
to
yeah,
love it. So are there any terrible gardens there, or that everyone's house is just immaculate?
honestly, I no, they're all very good gardens over there. No, I can't remember any that I could see that I could question at all. So even when you had Hidkit, you had another garden legit like a 2 minute walk down the road called Kifsgate, and that's also another fantastic garden as well. But no, it really is gardens everywhere, like hundreds upon hundreds. That's why like you could do a massive just garden tour over there. Don't bother seeing any sightseeing stuff. Just do a garden tour. You got plenty to see. But yeah, no, it really is. They're everywhere. And it's a bit like Japan, actually, I find. Even like your residential gardens are just like on another level. Like you wouldn't think so. It's like I sort of put like the whole of Japan is like a garden in itself. Like when it comes, oh no, it was very, very interesting. But yeah, no bad gardens over there.
Yeah, well, my landscape architect just got back from a trip to Japan, and she was saying like everyone is so proud of their garden. Like there was people
Mm,
who just got a little 2 meter by 1 meter front yard, but there's
mm,
not a leaf out of place on there. They're just
mm.
sweeping it all the time, making it look good. So there's a lot more pride in what they're doing.
Oh, really? No, just the level of respect over there just for gardening is just it's like it's definitely the best I've seen. Like it's almost like they'll go like OCD when it comes to gardening. Like it's got to be perfect. But like especially with the pruning. So when I was working there at Monet's there in Kitagawa, pruning was probably the more job that I did throughout the garden there. And like I was just climbing trees, without any safety gear, just with my secateurs. There's no chainsaws. It's all by hand, very very traditional. And it's all about the placement of each individual leaf. It's got to be perfect. And it's quite interesting when it comes to pruning over there in particular. It's more about the structure of the tree itself, and it's more about the care of the tree rather than more the visual that we get from it. Yeah, they're very, very key much about the environment over there, which is just great to see. But no, working with them was certainly an eye opener. Even like, yeah, even just working with the Japanese gardeners and hearing their stories and comparing my experiences throughout the world to theirs, like yeah, it was heaps good.
Yeah, Ross Ubergan was saying, telling a story about when he was in Japan. They wanted him to be polishing the trunk of a crepe myrtle with toothbrushes to make it all nice and shiny.
It really is like that. Even like I've got a photo on my phone actually, and I was walking in Kyoto. I was just sort of on my way back from a garden, and this is just, by the way, this is just on the road. There was a lady there, sort of on the path from this main road, and she was just there with like these little tweezers, legit weeding the path. This isn't even her yard. This is just, and that's what I found. Even just visiting gardens over there, the gardeners are just that detailed with it.
So then after HKIT Manor, is that when you went over to France?
That's when I went over to France the first time. That was along with Tyler Howard, who also was awarded the scholarship. He was awarded the 2019 Global Footprint Scholarship. And yeah, so we went over there for a month. That was a hell of an experience, actually. Like coming from Hidkett to where it's very rural. I stayed there by myself, sort of, I was sort of I don't know, like that last week there, I was sort of like, it'd be good to get around people again. And going from Hidkit all the way to France to Monet's, even though Monet's, it is about an hour out of Paris, it's around 800,000 visitors per year. And it's a very small garden. But coming from Hidkit to there was just like, he's gone from 1 to 100. And we had the best welcome from Jan, who we were in contact about the placement there. First day, have a dinner, and we all sat down. It was a great introduction, and then we're straight into work the next day. And yeah, so we were both there in August, and we were there for the whole month. And no, like again, working in Monet's pond and saying that you've been in the pond, legit in the pond, and working with the water lilies, and it's quite interesting. Even learning about Monet himself and how he sort of perceives the garden was quite interesting. Sort of, I was actually thinking about it the other day, and I didn't mention this in the webinar. It was at Great Dixter in particular. He took Fergus Garrett. He talks about the layered and successional planting, and that's sort of similar to what they do there at Monet. So they'll plant a whole bunch of tulips, maybe alliums, and they'll mix in some forget-me-nots and sort of stuff. So that real layered planting was one thing I noticed there at Monet's, which was quite interesting. And there's always something flowering throughout the times there. Like start of the year, so the garden will open in April, and the first thing are the tulips. They're all throughout the garden, and alliums and your poppies and all that sort of stuff. and then that will stay in for a month, and then a month or two, and then around June, July time, that all the tulips and all that will get dug up. Then that's when we'll do the annual planting there, which is most of like yeah, your annuals, your biennials. Then once that's in, then that stays in until the rest of the year, until November, when that gets dug up again, and the process continues again with the planting of the tulips again. But like throughout that whole period from June, July to November, you've got then after your tulips are finished and your alliums, then you got your irises flowering, and then you've got your roses around the same time, and then it's close to where then nymphaea, the water lilies, they all start flowering and stuff. So there's always something to see when you visit there at Monet. So no, that it was amazing experience just being there, and even in Giverny itself, like it's a very traditional French style village. It's just yeah, no, I can't speak any highly of of Monet's. It's in my top three gardens in the world. It is so no, it really is very special. I very highly recommend that people visit. Definitely.
So what are the other two in the top three?
So actually, so I can't put a first, second, third, but yes, it'd be Claude Monet's in Giverny. There was this garden I visited in Kyoto. Actually, it's a moss garden. Can't remember its name. Oh, I can't remember its name, but yeah, it was a garden in Kyoto, very Japanese style garden. It was a moss garden in Kyoto, and then Great Dixter in the UK. I visited there, met Fergus, and wow, even just walking through that garden, the what they do there is just how every garden should be. Basically, it's all about the beneficial insects, all about the environment. All their gardening methods and techniques are very traditional, and it's sort of, it's all very eco-friendly, and it's just yeah. And then speaking with Fergus himself, he's just a wealth of knowledge. And then also speaking with the other students there was just yeah on another level. But no, being at Monet's is just everyone needs to work there. It's just insane. And then walking through that garden, the moss garden in Kyoto, like it's like I said, like the level of detail the gardens go to. It was just like a spiritual feeling walking through the garden. Like you want to be so careful, like when you tread. Like it was just oh, I'll have to look. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, they're my top three gardens in the world to visit. Definitely.
So when you were going to the certain gardens that you went to as part of the scholarship, were you doing much research on them before you went there?
Oh, 100%. No, no, no. I knew all about the gardens before going there. No, I made sure I really sort of did all my research, and then knew all about the garden before going there. And yeah, no, definitely did.
And then did you learn? Yes, you learned a lot more also while being there.
Oh yeah, so like for instance, if when I went to Claude Monet's, of course, I did research about Claude Monet and then when the garden was built and a little bit of the story behind it. But working there, you sort of get a bit more of the behind the scenes stories you get. So no, working there was very, very cool.
So did you finish up there? That was, and then did you come back to Australia after that?
No, so then after Monet's, I went back to the UK and then went down to Cornwall to the Eden Project,
Oh, yeah.
and along with Tyler as well. And I worked there for 6 weeks. Tyler worked there for 3 weeks, and then he came back home. But yeah, I worked down there for 6 weeks at the Eden Project, and that was so interesting. Just sort of being in massive glass houses and sort of learning how they sort of function. There's different challenges to having a glass house to having a garden outside. Like, they got to make sure the temperature's right in there. Sort of having an enclosed space. It's like its own ecosystem itself, like inside of the glass house, and there are different challenges with that with pests, diseases. So, and then also being in Cornwall in itself, like again, there's amazing gardens down there. Like there was one called Tree Bar, not too far from Helligan, and I went and visited there, and they got these massive gunneras, which is like the leaves are the size of a car almost. Like it's just insane working there, and I did get a week's work at the Lost Gardens of Helligan, which is only not too far from Eden as well. And again, like Cornwall's another great place just to visit for gardens as well. Like you've got some really top quality ones down there.
So what sort of time period was it from when you arrived in Chelsea, so sort of early mid-May, to finishing up the
So,
Eden project?
so I went from so yeah for basically I think it was the 15th of May when I started at Chelsea. So I arrived. It was a couple days before that. So like I was either 11th or 12th of May, all the way until the 8th of November is when I came home. But after I finished at the Eden project, I had a month free. I originally planned for this, and I thought, what can I do for the month? So what I did, I went back to London, and then I messaged Kate Gould saying, "Hey, I'd love to come back and learn a bit more from you." So I went back to her landscaping business and worked for her for 2 weeks. And then I had another 2 weeks free after that. And I thought, I love Monet so much, I might as well go back to Monet's. So then I went back over to France and then, yeah, worked at Monet's again for 2 weeks before flying back home on the 8th of November. And then I only stayed here in Australia for 3 months before coming back last year for the 9 months. So, yeah, the last 2 years has just been bouncing everywhere, basically.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. Pretty insane the some of the gardens you've been to at a young age as well. So it's good that you're doing all of that, while you can.
Mm,
And
mm.
then yeah. So then you went back to, was it that same Monet garden and then to the one in Japan?
So yeah, so then earlier this so then last year I went from so I flew over in February. It was early, I think it was like the 8th of February. I went over back over to the UK. And then that's when I worked at Tresco Abbey Garden on the Isles of Scilly for 2 weeks. From there, I went back to the Eden Project again for the second time, worked there majority more in the glass house, in the Mediterranean Dome and the Rainforest Dome. Worked at Eden for 6 weeks. Then I did a bit of travel around. I went to Edinburgh, went to Amsterdam and visited gardens over there. Actually, Edinburgh Botanic Garden is another sensational one that people need to see. Even Edinburgh, the city itself, like the architecture there is just on another level. But yeah, so went from Edinburgh, Amsterdam, and then went back to Monet's. I started at Monet's May 1st and then worked there for 6 months until it was the end of October it was then when I finished. But in between that 6 months, I traveled to Italy, went to Germany. Also, I think it was around August time is when I first went to Dublin, and that's when I actually met Peter Donegan. That relationship got people say come together via the AIH, which is the Australian Institute of Horticulture. That's how it came through. So I went over to Dublin for a week, met Peter, and then that's sort of how we kept in contact. And that's when I was able to come to Melbourne and help him there. But then after Monet's is when I sort of came back home. Like again, it was around the early November, and then then this year I went from when was that? Think it was a no. It was a February again. I went to Japan and I was there for just 5 weeks. That was basically 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks at the Monet's Garden in Kitagawa. And then I had another week and a bit to sort of travel around Japan to sort of visit more gardens and see what the whole life is like there. And then came back from Japan and legit 3 weeks, 3 days later, I went straight down to Melbourne and was at Mifkas there for the whole time. So yeah, no, been bouncing around a lot.
You must be getting itchy feet now that you've been in Australia for too long. It's been a few months.
Oh mate, it's funny too because the last 2 years I haven't really experienced a winter, and this is the first time I'm sort of used to following the warm weather, following the warm weather. So no, a little bit, yeah. It's unfortunately I haven't been able, of course, to go to Chelsea and all these other shows that have just happened, which I would have loved to, but no, that's okay. No, I'm willing to wait. It's worth it.
So is any of those after that initial travel, is any of it part of the global footprints, or you're just all sourcing it yourself?
No, so the only Global Footprints time was in 2022. So my travel last year, that was just me asking Monets in France, hey, would you like, can I please come back? And like, yeah, sure, come on. So then last year was just more just my own contacts and relationships I built, yeah, during the scholarship time. So it's quite interesting who you talk to because, for instance, how I got the placement at Tresco was when I was at Helligan, and I was just talking with a lady named Cindy who works at Helligan, and we were just talking about guns and stuff, and then she mentioned Tresco, so it really shows like networking really is, it's very important. It's very special, really, really important to do. And definitely in our industry. And I find that, people, everyone is happy to share their ideas and contacts and help you to guide you. So networking is very important, I think, definitely here.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I often say good things happen to good people. So if you're just being and it's not networking to get something out of it, it's just doing
Ah,
it because it's the right thing to do, and you want to, communicate with people and share ideas.
exactly.
And then when they think of something, an opportunity, you're the first person they think of to, to work with again.
Exactly. Exactly. No, it's very, I say to, well, young people, like if they're, say that they have a niche that they're in horticulture that they're interested in, approach that person that is the top of that. So, for instance, for example, if we're talking about garden design, I might say, your Kate Gould, your Peter Doningans. Like, if you want to learn more about the niche of horticulture you want to pursue, contact them. Everyone's willing. Just send them a little email, sort of. Hi, I'm Ash. I would like to learn about your story and stuff. So, contact the people that you want to become. That's what I say. And yeah, you won't look back.
Yeah. The worst thing that can happen is they say no.
Exactly.
And the best thing
Exactly.
that can happen is they say yes, and then you get an amazing experience getting to work for some of the best, the talented people in the world.
Exactly. Exactly. Like you got to take risk. Without risk, there's no reward. So you got to do it.
You're looking to go back over again soon, is that right?
Very soon, hopefully. Yeah. So to go work for Kate Gould, who's going to sponsor me the scholarship to go the visa, sorry, to go over. So that would be awesome to actually live over in London and work in there, and because learning more about garden design with Kate, because she's done Chelsea like 10 times now and won gold half of those times, like the level of knowledge that her and the team has is just on that level. So, no, really, really looking forward to that. Just being in Europe in general is just, you can here you drive 1 hour, you might be, you just go into shops. Over there, if you drive 1 hour, you're in another country. Like it's it's just so cool. And then to learn more about cultures over there and gardening styles too. They're all quite interesting to learn and yeah, looking really forward to getting back over.
Have you got a favorite style?
I don't know. I'm a bit more of a messy gardener, I would say. So I really like sort of the English style to where it's like a real nice perennial garden, but it's not necessarily clean. But then, it's a bit sort of all over the place. But then, sort of, how do I put it? Yeah, I like sort of the garden that's a bit more of the English style, to where it's a bit messy, but in sort of arranged form. But then being that when I was at Japan, like Japanese gardens, like. It's different to that, of course. But I've really grown an appreciation just for the Japanese style of gardening that they do. Like it's just, it's all about um the spiritual feel of it. And yeah, I was probably say probably more the messy perennial type garden style is what I like. So definitely English style.
And how did you come about joining the AIH?
Oh, trying to remember that one. That was actually Alan Burnell, who's the president of the IAH, he sent me a message sort of saying, "Hey, I heard about you from such and such. Would you like to come on board?" And I said yes. So now I'm on the board of the Future Voices on the AIH council there, which is just so cool to sort of be with other people, other very passionate people in the industry. Sort of we talk about different sort of issues and throughout the industry and how we can resolve and how we can make an impact. So no, it's quite sort of cool to be there. But yeah, no, it was Alan Burnell who approached me to come on there.
Yeah, like there's so many examples that I love about your story about you just get an opportunity and say yes to it and then you make it work as well. Like if you didn't say yes to Alan, then you don't meet Peter Donning and you don't come to Melbourne to work at Mifkus.
Exactly. Actually, Graham Ross told me this in the early days when I first met him. Was he said to me, open all the doors, and the ones that close, let them close, but the ones that open, they're the ones you walk through. And that's how I've just been rolling for the last ever since you said that. And it's working out so far. So
Yeah, yeah, and getting sponsored to go back over the UK is not a bad result either.
it's not too bad.
Yeah. So where do you see yourself in like 5 years' time? What do you reckon you'll be doing?
5 years time. Well, I would say will be in London, be overseas, and mostly probably still working probably with Kate. And yeah, garden design is definitely my short-term goal that I want to sort of experiment with. It brings a bit more of my creative side out, I think. And definitely, yeah, working over there. I would like to sort of begin my sort of garden show experience by designing some gardens at like Mifkis. Like I'm possibly maybe come back home next year to maybe design like a achievable garden there at Mifkis. Sort of start small, then work my way up. But yeah, definitely more the garden design is sort of my short-term goals that I want to achieve.
So what is it you're doing now to sort of start saving up the pennies before you go over there for yourself?
So at the moment, I'm just doing my own gardening, well, my own horticultural garden design business just here in the Southern Highlands. So I'm just sort of making my money, sort of going through residential gardens and giving my best knowledge and working there. So yeah, so just at home, saving up money, doing my own sort of gardening business at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's exciting to follow along what you're going to get up to. Last question for you, Ash. Who do you think would be a good guest to have on the podcast?
Good guest to be on the podcast. Well, I've got to say, I'm not too sure if Tyler Howard has been on here, but I
Uh,
tell you, he will chew your ear off.
awesome.
He's quite good and he's full of experience as well. So I highly recommend him, definitely.
All right. I'll send him a message. But yeah, absolutely. I love hearing about your story about your travel. So I can only imagine how exciting it is to be living it. And from what I've heard, you are actually appreciating it while you're doing it as well. Like you're not just doing it and then taking it for granted. So yeah, awesome to hear your story. Thanks for coming on and looking forward to following along your journey and where you go to next.
No, thank you, Joe, for having me. Really appreciate it. No, I love sharing my stories and yeah, please, hey, if anyone listening, if you have any further questions, please reach out. I'm happy to answer and give my best knowledge that I can. So, but no, thank you, Joe, for having me. Appreciate it.